Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the weekly meeting on Zoom of Camberley Chess Club. This week we have a presentation from one of our long-standing members, Colin Lyne. So over to you, Colin.
Okay, well, you've seen the emails floating around. I'm planning to do 3 games tonight. First one is a game that I played myself. Then we're going to look at a game by a guy called Bobby Fischer, I think his name was. Apparently he was quite a good player back in the sort of 60s and 70s. And then finally we're going to end up with that great patch of all players, Gary Kasparov. But I also thought I'd test you on the history of the game tonight and see how much you know about the history. So be ready for some questions. This was a game I played at Great Missenden. I was actually more worried about getting there on time than playing the game, because Ivor Kelly said he'd pick me up at 1:45 and it was going to start at 2 o'clock. And so I said, that's a bit late, isn't it? He said, okay, we'll make it 20-1 then. And he had to pick Gordon up as well. Gordon came that day. And anyway, as it turned out, we did manage to get there on time. But when I got there, I found I was playing Roger de Coverley. They actually had a 220 on board 1 and board 2. This was Buckinghamshire. And our board 2 was 166. So I thought we'd be in for a bit of a hiding that day, which we were. But anyway, I ended up playing Roger de Coverley. I didn't expect to play anyone quite as strong as him. Roger has been up in the 190s before now. When I played him in this game, he was about 180. So I knew it'd be a tough game. It was actually the first time I got to play him with the white pieces. So I was quite pleased about that. And this is how the game started. And as usual, I played my favourite bishop c4 move. There's various different moves that can be played against this. I actually expected Roger to go bishop to e7. And the reason why I expected that was because a while before that, I'd seen on the internet some games of his, and I'd seen that he played bishop e7 in one game. So that's the move that I was expecting. Bishop e7 is actually a bit boring. He played this move, which is far more interesting. But this move virtually means that black has to sacrifice a pawn. Now, if you go bishop e7 instead, there's actually a couple of nice traps. And I know that Sandy, you play this, don't you, Sandy? So you must have played against this sometime. Does anybody know what this opening is called?
It's the
Hungarian defense.
Is it the Hungarian?
Hungarian defense. Well done.
Yeah.
1 point for Mark. There's actually a couple of nice traps in the Hungarian. One is this. And on the internet, I've actually had people who resign in this position. But you don't need to resign. And now, believe it or not, what his best move is actually to take this and give the piece back. If he tries to play this, I think this gets played. And this gets played. So it's not too good. There's also another interesting trap which goes like this. Now, if you decide to take here and he takes back with a knight, you exchange knights. And can you see what move he plays now?
Bishop f7.
No.
Well, the queen's defended.
Oh, queen's defended, yeah.
Got a better move than bishop f7 on.
Queen h5, is it?
Queen
h5.
Looks tricky.
That's right. And he's got to defend against this, so he plays this move. So just take this. And when he goes here, you play this move. Oops. And his best move now is to play this, when after this, he has to play this move. Otherwise, bishop in here attacks the knight and the rook at the same time. So that's 2 good traps. If you play bishop c4, that's 2 good traps to be aware of. In the game, he actually played knight f3. Sorry, knight f6. Now, there's only one really interesting move here. You can play various things. You can play this, which is very boring. If they play that, you should just play bishop c5. And black's immediately level. That does happen in quite a few games. You can also play this move. This move's quite interesting. And now the most interesting move is to play this. And this is actually slightly tricky. I've had this on the internet quite a bit, and it's not usually I play this move against it. But it is a sort of tricky little line, really. The most interesting move by far is to play this. If he likes, he can play this move. If he plays this move, bishop takes f7 is better than knight takes f7. But his normal move is this move. You take. I've had people who take back, but if you take back, you've got to worry about this sacrifice. Shirov actually played this immediately in an Olympiad game when somebody played this against him. I don't normally play it immediately, but I do play it. He played the most usual move here, knight to a5. So I checked him. Once again, you can play this here, but let Colin play this against me. If you play this, you normally play this move. But it's more normal to play this move. Okay. What would you play now if you were white? What move would you play?
Queen's Gambit.
Sorry?
The Queen's Gambit.
No, this certainly isn't the Queen's Gambit.
Queen f3.
That's not very good.
Queen f3 is actually a good move. It's not the move I play, but it is a good move. And it wins a second pawn. But it does leave white somewhat behind in development.
No, Queen f3, Rook b8.
Yeah, but he still wins the pawn on c6.
Yeah, but you're in a lot of trouble.
Queen
I know this line. Queen f3, Rook b8, Bishop c6, Knight c6, Queen c6, Knight ft7. Then you got your knight hanging on g5, and all his pieces are active. I mean, white's virtually busted.
Let's put the moves on the board, Julian.
What do you want to play now?
Knight ft7.
Knight fd7. That's an interesting move.
You're busted.
Well, I suppose you could play knight f4.
Look at your development on the queen's side. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it doesn't look good for white, does it?
Well,
I had this in a vote chess game, and the white just resigned.
Let's see what the computer thinks.
Wouldn't go that far. I'd rather be black though.
You'd rather be black? Knight f3.
Yeah, just taste, isn't it? Style, you know.
Rook b6.
Actually, it's interesting that
Oh, he's checking out.
I did play rook b8 once in a correspondence game where I actually played this line. Well, this actually suggests against rook b8 you should play bishop d3, interestingly enough.
Right.
I find that rather interesting.
Well, you haven't got your second pawn now. 3-6.
No, you aren't. Queen f3, though, is one of the moves that is supposed to be one of the best moves against it. Interesting enough, bishop e7 is normally the move that's recommended. You normally get this line. Once again, black's got compensation for the pawns, but if he doesn't do something pretty dramatic and eventually white gets all his pieces out, he's going to end up 2 pawns down. This is the sort of thing that doesn't bother people like Peter Tye in the slightest, but it tends to bother me a bit. I don't like being pawns down. Any other moves besides Queen f3?
Bishop e2.
Bishop e2. Bishop e2 is the old line. Actually, Fischer once played this, and Fischer once played this move here. He even won with it. It hadn't been played apparently since Steinitz. It was a big surprise at the time. It's not the normal move. This is the normal way to play. Andy Martin thinks that this is actually quite good for black after this move. This is the way I used to play. I used to play this line for a long time. I played this line.
There's also Bishop d.
Does anybody think this move's good?
Is Queen d4 a problem?
Queen d4. No, a6. a6.
A6.
Now you got Queen d4.
Then Queen d4.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what he does. If he does this, you take this. And if he does this, you take this. Now go here.
Mhm.
So queen a4 is actually an error. Well, the move I played in the game was bishop d3. Looks a weird move, but Nakamura and Luke McShane have both played this move. And so some time ago, I decided to play it. I've had about 8 serious games, a couple of posts and about 6 serious over the board games. And I've won or drawn all of them. So I think it's quite a good move, really. If they play h6, the idea is not to go back to f3, where obviously you get the pawn fork, but to come to this square. Now, actually, I know, because I've played this long enough, that knight here is supposed to be the best move. I think Stuart Knox played that move against me, and I only drew against him. But Roger played this move.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, actually, according to the computer, it's a bit of a mistake. And now he went here. So I castled. I think remember last week we were looking at last time we were looking at my game against Stippy, and he went here, didn't he? And I went here, and then he took on here. But actually, according to the computers, if they play this, you should just go here. That's how you should play. And white is supposed to be better. Black hasn't got enough for his pawn. So after castles, he just played bishop e7. I went rook e1. He castled. One of his ideas is normally to throw this pawn down the board. So I played knight g3. If he plays f5 now, I'm going to take this pawn. He went bishop f6.
Oh.
One idea sometimes is to go here, actually. Bishop f6 is a very unusual move. It's much more usual to go bishop d6 in this line than bishop f6, because this actually stops your f pawn coming down the board. So I think it's a slight mistake. It was the first new move in the game. So I played knight c3, and he went g6. And now I went b3. Need to get my bishop out. And he went bishop g7, so maybe he's planning to play f5 after all. So I went bishop b2. And now his next move rather surprised me, because he went knight f4. So I played my bishop back here. And now he went h5.
How much time was he spending over his moves, Colin? Do you get the impression this sort of long-winded bishop f6 round to bishop g7 was a pre-prepared plan, or did you get the
No, I don't think so.
Making it up on the day?
Well, the fact that he played the Hungarian in the past, I wonder if on this particular game he wanted to win, and he thought this was a more serious chance for him than bishop e7. And so I think he may not have played this much before. And he didn't know, he probably knew up to bishop d3. Even people who have played this line for years, they know up to bishop d3. And then when you get bishop d3, they start thinking. And anyway, how do you think I played now? I did play the best move according to the computers. I actually haven't got the computer on at the moment, so you can't see it. What would you play here?
Knight c3, e4, or something like that.
Well, if I play knight on c3 to e4 and he plays f5, this knight's coming back here. And my pieces are getting into a bit of a tangle. You've got the right idea, though.
Knight e2.
Well, you want to play knight e2 now? Which one?
Knight c to e2.
Knight c to e2.
Yeah.
You want to play?
I thought it was right to move that knight, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it is right to move this knight. I actually moved it to this square.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Some stage it might be coming into this square.
Well, you see, yeah, because I was eyeing up c5. That looked quite a juicy square for it.
Well, at the moment I'm threatening to take this.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went h4.
Yeah.
But of course, I've got this nice square. So now I've really got this square under control. And now he played f5, but it turns out this was a mistake, according to the computer. Interestingly, it just encourages me to go into an even stronger square. Apparently, he should have played knight b7, trying to fight for the c5 square, but he didn't. According to the computer, I got a clear advantage here. Anyway, he played this move. What's the threat here?
Knight h3.
Knight h3 to f2.
Black to if black were to move, what would be his nut?
Queen went to g2.
Knight h3 takes f2.
Oh, knight g2.
No.
Actually, both of them are a threat.
Knight, yeah.
I'm not sure. I was
He
thinking
can play queen f3 after h3, can't he? So
No, knight g2.
He's
which
definitely a
takes
threat.
Knight h3, surely.
knight
Yeah.
h3, yeah.
Can't take because of the pin on the king. And then when the king moves, he plays this and wins the queen.
Yeah.
That's his threat.
You can avoid that.
So I just played king h1. Now he plays knight h3. I'm just going to take it, obviously. And apparently, he should have played h3 there. But he played rook e8. Defend this pawn. I played d3, but according to the computer, I should have gone d4. I wasn't quite sure of that, but of course he can't take it. So I could have gone d4 there. So I made a slight error there. Anyway, he now went knight to b7. So I just took off and came into here. So I got a really nice square for my knight now. He went back, because obviously I'm attacking his bishop.
How can he defend it?
Well, he could defend it, but maybe I'll just keep swapping pieces off. I'm quite happy to keep swapping pieces off and eventually try to win. Do you remember against Stippy, I ended up winning because I created a passed A pawn and that won me the game. And this is one of the things, eventually, if he doesn't generate enough counterplay, he's just going to be left with a very bad ending. He's a pawn down. He's also got two weak pawns, what we call isolated pawns here. So he's actually quite a bit worse here. Now I just played the move b4, just so that if this knight gets attacked, it doesn't matter. Queen d8, queen d2, and now a5, a3, king h7. Bishop c3. I might really be thinking of taking this pawn and pushing it down the board gradually. Queen d5. Threatening h3, I should think. So the king comes back to this square. I'll probably meet h3 with g3. Bishop h6. That's a bit nasty, isn't it? What should I do now, do you think?
Knight h3.
No, it's my go.
Yeah, well, his idea is knight h3.
Bishop, yeah, bishop h6 he's just played.
Yeah, it's threatening knight h3.
Yeah. I think I've only got one move here, haven't I?
Looks like it.
Queen d1 or king. Yeah, queen d1.
I think he's running out of ideas though. He went bishop here.
Yeah.
I went back.
Nowhere, is it? The thing.
I went back to b3. But I actually put a question. Knight A4, which is interesting, but this does clarify things a bit on this side. Anyway, he played A4, so I played Knight D2. But I could, you know, I might still get another good square if he's not careful. And I could also be playing this. This knight's done quite a lot of work, hasn't it? Now, apparently he should have gone C5 now. That was his last chance for really active counterplay. I played Knight F3. Which I went here. Now I played D4, but I've given this a question mark, so what should I have played? G3 seems much better, according to the computer. Chasing this pesky knight away, maybe. Anyway, D4, E4, Knight E5. Once again, I've found a good square for my knight. Bishop A6. Oh, I don't mind that move. I'm quite happy to exchange pieces. What did I play now? This is where the balances started to really tilt in my favour after this move.
Rook E3.
No.
Bishop D2.
No.
D2.
G3.
I might.
Yeah, but you got bishop takes knight though. I think play G5. It's unclear, isn't it? They can't. No, that's okay.
What happens after G3 here, Colin?
G3, King G2.
Yeah.
G3, well, he'd probably bring the knight back to E6, attacking this again, maybe.
Oh, so doesn't take. Okay.
It's actually a positional move, but it's actually quite a strong positional move. And it's a move F.
Oh, F3.
All right, that's interesting. Wouldn't have occurred to me.
It's not very intuitive, is it?
No.
No, it's easily the best move according to the computer, and it's just a case of understanding what's going on in the position, really. He played that, but now, of course, he ends up with a weak. This pawn becomes weak now. You really want a queen protecting the pawn. And now, after my next move, I really thought that I was winning. What was my next move?
Queen G4.
Sorry?
Queen G4.
Queen G4. Queen G4 is very strong. He needs this knight to protect this pawn. And, you know, he doesn't really want to play G5.
No.
That would allow the queen into F5.
This looks pretty difficult.
It's suddenly not easy for him. I think he should have gone G5. He actually didn't. He actually played this move. So how do you think I answered that move?
Queen take H4 check.
Yeah, throwing the intermezzo. Got a free pawn here, so I might as well take it. Now he played knight to H5. I'm not quite sure why he played that.
But he wants you to play G4.
Maybe because I was just going to take next on E5 and then I'd be threatening his knight anyway. He's in quite a bit of trouble now. Anyway, D takes E5 I played now. And he played queen to C4. So what move would you play here?
Rook E3 again.
Yeah, rook E3. Rook E3 just threatens to play queen takes E4, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he played king G8. Now I made a mistake. According to the computer, my next move is a mistake.
Queen takes pawn.
Yeah, that's what I play. But the computer actually thinks that the move G4 is much stronger. After G4.
Followed by E6. Yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, knight G7. G6, no, E6 doesn't work now.
I think anybody will play Queen E4 in that position, though. I mean, you're really
I think most people would, except
yeah.
the computer.
Yeah, it's game for people, isn't it? Humans.
Well, it may be that one of the ideas is to play Rook F1 followed by Rook H3. Maybe against Rook F1, Rook F8 would be the answer. So anyway, I didn't play G4. I did play Queen takes E4. It must have been quite depressing for him to feel that his best move here was Queen takes Queen. I suppose he could have tried Queen F7, but he's going to probably lose some more material. Rook F1 would probably happen next. Anyway, he decided to play this exchange. By now, I was feeling pretty confident I ought to win. You know what it's like, even when you're in positions like this, you've still got to win the game. And you can't afford to not concentrate. At one stage, I was about half an hour up on him on the clock, but I noticed when he was losing, he started playing quicker. And obviously, the reason why is he wants to get me to play quickly as well. Otherwise, I'm going to end up losing on the clock. And so I had to play faster as well. And eventually, he actually overtook me on the clock, but thankfully, by the time he did, it didn't matter much. Well, I played Rook D1 here. Just threatening to play Rook D6. So he played Knight G7. Oh, I don't want him to come into F5, so I played G4.
Yeah, but he could have played Knight F. Wait a minute. He could have played Knight F6. The idea of Knight D5.
Yes, he could play that. What would I play against that? Maybe Rook F4. Well, then he's got Knight D5, hasn't he? Yeah.
Just move the rook back, move the bishop, play C4. I mean, it's still great for white.
Oh, I'm sure it's pretty good for me. Rook on E to E1.
Well, you've got to be careful. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got to
3 pawns up.
well, he could play Knight D5, but if he does, the bishop just comes back and I play C4.
Yeah.
I suspect is what would happen.
No, nobody played Rook F4.
Huh?
Where's your Rook going?
D6 afterwards.
You're going Rook E1.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no need to rush in this position.
No.
If he plays this, I'll probably just play this with the idea of going here.
Yeah.
And then Rook D6.
Yeah, that's comfortably winning, isn't it?
Black's got no counterplay.
Right.
No, I don't think he has. Okay, so Queen takes, Rook, Rook. Knight G7 happened. So I played G4.
Yeah.
Really, he's just playing moves now. Well, he did manage to kick me out of D6, I suppose, so that's something. I now played this move, though. Maybe he should just go back to G7, but again, I would probably go Rook D6 if he did. He went Knight C7. So now I did go Rook D6. It's amazing. Some people don't realise that if you're 3 pawns up in an ending, as I am here, you should just go for massive exchanges of pieces. It's a very simple tactic. Just keep exchanging off all the pieces. Because sooner or later, you're going to get into an ending where your extra piece is going to be worth rather a lot. Or your extra pawns, I should say. Anyway, here I played Bishop B2. I could see Knight D5 coming, so I also want to start pushing these pawns down the board a bit, if I can. He played King F7. So I played C4. And he went Rook E7. Now I played King F2, but I put a note to that Rook F4 was strong here.
Yeah, Rook F4 looks good, yeah.
So I should play that instead. But still, you do want to get your king into the game at the end, don't you?
Yeah.
King E6. Not sure where his king's going because it's not. Now I got the right idea. I did play rook F6.
It just transposes.
It probably does. King here. Rook F6. Maybe you should have played knight E6 here. But then that drops, doesn't it? So you had to play rook here. But once again, I'm just very pleased to. I didn't even exchange pieces there. I just brought my king up. We played knight F8, knight E8, rook E6, king E6, king G4. I'm planning to create a passed pawn on the queen side, on the king side. Knight here. H4, knight F5. Probably a little bit careful because he's threatening to go here and take this maybe. But I realised that it didn't matter if he did.
H6.
This is the move I had to see when I went H5. At H6, and he does not get time to take the bishop. Instead, he has to go here.
Now you play E6.
Well done, Julian. That's exactly what I did play. Now I played bishop C1, but I'm not sure why I played that because.
No, you play bishop F6. Bishop F6 probably.
Yeah, I should just go E7.
Or maybe yeah, E7. E7, knight. Or maybe keep the knight out. Bishop E5.
Bishop E5 would also be possible.
B5 looks good, yeah.
That'd be quite good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I just play this move now. We were getting fairly low on the clock, so I was playing quite fast, but when I look at it now, I shouldn't have played that.
Yeah,
But the game is really over. I wondered why he was playing on at this stage. The king came in here and faced with the threat of E7 and E8.
That's it. It's over.
But there was a pivotal moment in that game where I played F3, and I think that really changed the character of the game.
Yeah, it was a surprising move. I found it surprising anyway.
Yeah, well, no, I agree with you, Mark. Yeah, I wasn't expecting F3.
Yeah,
but it
I took a bit of time over it, but you know, I realised that it was the move that the position demanded after a little bit of thinking about it, and I thought, you know, whatever he does, I'm going to have the good position at that stage. By the time I played F3 and Queen G4, I suddenly thought, well, you know, I was quite clearly winning by then. Okay, well, that's that game. Next game we're going to look at is a game by Bobby Fischer. He was playing the Great Dane. Don't know how many of you have got this book, my 60 memorable games.
Yeah.
One of the things I particularly like about it is Larry Evans' comments at the start of the game. He always talks about it. John was trying to guess the opening this afternoon when I told him it was against Bent Larsen. It's actually a game that played at Portoroz in 1958. I think Fischer was only about 15 at the time.
This was a dragon, if I remember.
It was the dragon, yeah. And this is what is said about this game. Although the Sicilian as a whole is still the best fighting defence at Black's disposal, much of the steam has been taken out of the time-honoured dragon variation. This is one of the key games which helped to batter its reputation. It is a laudable attempt to create complications. Larsen deviates from the book on move 15. That proves to be disastrous since his counter-attack never gets started. Mechanically, routinely, Fischer prizes open the H-file, sacrifices first the pawn, and then the exchange. There is an aura of inevitability about the outcome. Here the notes are as instructive and lucid as the text, which is an object lesson in how to mount an attack against the fianchetto king. And so if you don't know the Sicilian dragon, it starts like this. I assume their move order is the same. Fischer used to play the King's Indian attack, at one time. The King's Indian attack, you play this move, and you go knight d2. We used to have a player in Camberley Chess Club called John Burrell, and he used to play that, and he was quite devastating with it. He used to always end up with his knight on f6, and you sort of felt like you could resign when he put his knight on f6. He caught me in it quite a number of times. Eventually, I had to learn to play something different that avoided that. And now we get the move that... And when I first used to play against this, I used to play the 11 fish. But against the 11 fish, this move is just very good. And eventually, he comes around to this square at some stage. And you find it very difficult to play against that. John Burrell used to beat me at that time in the game. So eventually, I decided to copy Bobby Fischer. And I've never regretted that. Because I think this is the challenge. In recent years, this move's been getting played quite a bit. I think it's called the Dragon Wharf. Simon Williams plays it. Who can tell me what this variation is called?
Yugoslav attack.
The Yugoslav attack.
Well, nine bishops e4 is designed to stop d5, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, castles does get played, but like you say, if castles get played, d5. There's a lot of games that go castle, d5, queen, e1, believe it or not. That's become quite popular in recent years, but yeah, this is the move. Now the normal move is bishop d7, and normally white castles against that, but I actually play the move h4 against that. But in recent years, h5 has become very popular. And some years ago, when Anand played Kasparov for the world title, I think it was in 1995, they actually had a couple of games which featured that variation. And Anand did very badly. I think Kasparov beat him both times. And it really changed the whole situation on the match quite drastically. But anyway, he didn't play this. He played this.
Richard Webb, he's given up because of that line.
Sorry?
Richard Webb doesn't think h5 works for black. He's been trying for a long time. He doesn't play it anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's quite normal to play bishop d7 and then reroute the knight round here and bring a rook to here. Often the queen comes over here because it's pretty obvious that white's going to castle on the queen side. So anyway, he didn't play that. He played this move. This move today is rather frowned upon. I think Jim Gelderfield once played this against me. But I have to say, I don't understand why they play this. Bishop e6, which might come as a slight surprise. But it's been... People come to the conclusion over the years that bishop takes e6 isn't particularly good here. And they just drop his bishop back to this square. And now the queen, sure enough, comes out to a5. Now he's planning to just go h4, h5. He might throw g4 in. And basically, the idea is to exchange off these pawns and somehow find a way of getting his queen into this square, usually by playing this. When he takes back, he can zoom across here and mate him on here. That's basically his idea. Unfortunately, though, black is entitled to some moves as well. And he gets on with his queenside attack as quickly as possible. Fischer says here that some people make the mistake of playing this. But if he plays this, you should take with a c-pawn. And then there's no serious danger at all of black getting a queenside attack with that type of pawn structure. He's also quite likely to get control of this square at some stage. Oops, sorry, what happened there? So, okay, so he played castles queenside and he played b5. King b1. You normally always take a move out to play this in these sort of positions. Otherwise the a-pawn might end up dropping off. And he played b4. Where would you put the knight here?
A4.
A4. Well, A4 would stop attacks, but it's a bit out on the edge, isn't it? A4. It would stop any attacks. It's pretty difficult to see how it gets attack against A4, knight to A4. Fischer and Kasparov have always believed in keeping pieces very active.
Doesn't the bishop
Goes to
D7?
A4, bishop D7.
Yeah, just wins the
Picked off
piece.
the knight, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. You're right. It does pick up.
Okay. Didn't look at that.
Yeah, I didn't see that actually.
Knight D5, thematic, isn't it?
Yeah, knight D5. Fischer always believed in keeping pieces very active. He actually says that knight E2 is much weaker. Then he does take the bishop and he brings the rook to D8. And he was staying quite well there. Apparently, knight takes knight has been played here, but apparently, according to Fischer, that's quite bad. That was played in a cautionary game. Anyway.
Bishop G7.
Sorry?
Well, what happens? What happens after? Is it Bishop G7 after knight D5?
Knight C5?
No, knight D5, Bishop G. Does he play Bishop G7? What does White play? Bishop
Yeah,
G7?
he does play Bishop G7. That's quite right. Yeah, Bishop G7, King takes, E takes, Bishop D7, and then Rook. Actually, he says he gives Rook to D, on D to E1, with a crushing bind. That happened in the game between Sutton and Korchnoi. It's just nice. This sort of structure tends to be quite nice for White, because for a start he can bring this rook up here, attacking this a second time, and then he can bring the other rook across to the E1 square, and he gets pressure against this and this, and that's just unpleasant for him. Where's his counterplay coming from? It's not, just can't come from anywhere really, can it? So in the game, Larson played this move, which is supposed to be better. The Fischer's actually critical about his move here. He says he should have played pawn takes on D5. And instead he played bishop takes. And after the game, he told Larson that his next move was wrong. He said Larson explained after the game he's playing for a win, and he rejected the automatic draw that would probably come from knight takes D5. You do have an intermezzo here. And apparently this should end in a draw.
What, bishop takes?
Bishop takes. Pawn takes.
Queen takes.
Queen takes. Be very difficult to win this, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he played this move, and according to Fischer, this actually is the start of his troubles. He brought his bishop back here. He says he won't get a second chance to snap off the bishop. Now I felt the game was in the bag if I didn't bodge it. I've won dozens of skittle games in such positions, and they're down to fine art. Try open the H file, sack, and mate. So what do you think White should play now?
H4.
H4. Queen B5. I think his idea is to try to start getting this down the board. Oops. What happened there? So that's his idea. H5. You actually don't worry about this move getting played, because if this move gets played, you exchange off bishops, play G4. This is how you tend to play against this.
Shouldn't Black simply play H5 after H4 as kind of an automatic response? If that works well early in the game,
you tend to play.
Yeah.
And there ought to be some way of winning here.
E5.
Am I doing something like this?
Yeah. That looks pretty good.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's possible to play this move. Sometimes you can play this move.
G6 looks good, doesn't it?
No, G6.
Yeah. No.
That's just winning, isn't it?
Hold on, Queen's on that.
No,
Oh, sorry.
no, don't
Yeah.
take
Okay.
Queen
Queen
H6.
H6 or Rook G1.
Now Rook G1.
If
Yeah,
his queen
right.
was on, if his queen was on B6, that wouldn't work, would it?
I do any Bernard Cookie plays for Basingstoke. I actually got this sort of attack against him. I sat down one night and we got to move 20, and I'd actually played the whole game before about 4 times on the internet. When we got to games, when we got to this sort of position, we got it after about 20 moves, and he just resigned. But in that game, he'd played knight takes h5, and the queen hadn't been here, and I'd sacked the rook. And it's just a very common way of winning. And of course, once you've seen it a lot of times, you do tend to sort of just play it without hardly analysing it.
Well, if it's that strong, why doesn't Black just play h5 as soon as he sees h4?
Well, this is what Kasparov did.
Yeah.
You can play h5 much earlier in the game.
Yeah.
And he played it twice against Anand. I actually said to Ian Duval once, why don't you play h5 systems against the Dragon? Because after all, what Kasparov played, and Kasparov's one of the greatest ever opening experts. And he said to me, oh, no, I don't want to play h5. But I used to think he should. And eventually, he changed to playing the Kara Khan. I think he lost a very bad game against Michael Smart at Guildford. And I think that rather put him off of the Dragon after that. But I think he should have just changed to playing these h5 systems, because Fury seems to be standing up under that sort of thing.
One again.
Okay, so he played this. And of course, he's got to take back with this one, hasn't he? Can't take back with the other one because it's pinned to the king. How's he going to get through now? Well, he played g4 now. One of the ideas of g4 is to bring the queen across there. a5. I went g5. Right. Can you guess Fischer's next move?
Takes h5.
Sorry?
Rook takes h5.
Yeah, rook takes h5.
Hey.
Rook takes h5 is exactly what he did play. He took the rook. So now he went g6. And he went e5. I always think that's a horrible move to make in the Sicilian Dragon. He took this pawn here. King here. d5. Fischer actually gave this move an exclamation mark. But he took with a pawn. Now he's got a dangerous pawn. Rook f7. So that was quite clever in a way, but unfortunately, he's now given himself another problem. d6, rook f6. Of course, he can't play that move because he's going to get forked with this, isn't he? So he plays this move instead. Bishop g5. And here he played queen b7. I suppose because if he played rook g6, he would have played d7 and d8. So he played queen b7. Anyway, he just took this off and he took back. He played d7 anyway. Rook here. And what's the final move?
Queen somewhere.
D6.
D6.
No, Queen H6.
Queen to where?
Queen H6 forcing Bishop G7, then Queen D6.
Well, he actually played Queen D6, but he admitted afterwards it was a mistake. Queen A6 actually forces a mate in 3.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Goes here. That's actually a mate in less than 3 if you go there. You got to play here, haven't you?
All right.
Please, can you get the Queen H7 here? Queen H7.
Yeah. It's not 3, it's 4, isn't it? But
Queen H7.
Yeah. I thought that was a good game to study for, because you can also get these sort of type of positions in the Pierce. And I had a lot of games online where I was just beating people in the Pierce because I just played a kingside attack against them. You've seen the game between Fischer and Benko, where Fischer got a fantastic attack. But Fischer used to play this move. And this can often lead to you getting quite a big attack. Sorry. Certain lines where it just leads to you getting quite a big attack. I think Benko played this move. But this can lead to... I think this is what happened in the Fischer Benko. But eventually he got a big attack against the king. Obviously knowing how to attack is quite an important part of chess. But this game happened in the 1983 candidates match where Kasparov's first opponent was Believsky. I don't know if you know, but in 1980, when he's only 16, Kasparov won the Russian championship. I remember seeing it in Chess Magazine, 16-year-old wins the Russian championship. And over the next couple of years, he won quite a few tournaments, and he very rarely lost the game. And when he went into the interzonal, he won by a clear 1.5 points. He got 10 points. He won about 6 or 7 games, and he drew the rest. And Believsky finished second with 8.5 points. But anyway, he drew Believsky in the quarterfinals. But here's a little history question for you. Can you tell me who he beat in the semi-final and the final of the 1983 candidates to challenge Karpov for the world title? Who did he play in the semi-final and the final?
Nigel Short.
I'll give you a clue. The semi-final was actually played in London, and I went to see the first game, and Kasparov lost the first game.
And Korchnoi.
To Korchnoi, that's right. Do you know what the opening was, Tim?
I think it was a Queen's Indian.
Yeah, it was, and he played his favourite 4A3 because he'd won lots of games with 4A3. And Korchnoi played an unusual system where he played G6. And after 17 moves, Kasparov had taken 2 hours. That's when you had 2.5 hours to play 40 moves. And Korchnoi had taken 4 minutes and 6 seconds, apparently. And he had a winning position. And he went on to win that game. And the next 4 games were drawn. But then after that, Kasparov annihilated him. And he ended up winning 7-4. Yep. So who did he play in the final?
Smyslov.
Smyslov, well done. Tim knows his history.
I'm gonna have to upgrade the questions for the quiz based on Tim's performance here.
You are.
yeah. Who did Smyslov beat in the previous round before we got to play Kasparov though?
Ribley.
Oh no! How do you know all this stuff?
Oh, Ribley was in the quarterfinals.
Amazing.
Yeah. Ribley went out to Smyslov. Well, who did Korchnoi beat in the quarterfinals?
I don't know.
1-6-3. He beat Portish in the quarterfinal.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so anyway, I find it interesting that both Fischer and Kasparov both like the King's Indian and both like the Grunfeld. And against E4, they both like playing the Sicilian. So there's quite a few things which both of them play against, where they both played the same openings.
Sorry, what's Kasparov here, white or black?
He's black. I don't actually know. Kasparov doesn't actually often play the white side of the King's Indian, so I don't know what he does when they play the King's Indian. because he did play d4 quite a bit. Now, he chose f3. Funny enough, I played this in a poster a while ago, but it didn't turn out all that well for me. So if I play the King's Indian on the white side again, I'll probably play something different. Maybe I'll play f4. That's what you play, isn't it, Paul?
No, I play h3 instead of f3.
You play h3.
Yeah,
the Maganov system.
h3 keeps the bishop or the knight out of g4.
Do you play that in this position?
No, in the position in that position, yes. h3.
You play h3, yeah. I have seen the move h3.
Krasenkow, it's called. After Michael Krasenkow.
It's the Maganov.
It's Makoganov because
I'll tell you who.
5h3 is the Krasenkow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
4
think
h is Makoganov. Yeah.
Against this move, doesn't this move get played?
Many moves get played.
Many moves get played, but it's very weakening on the black squares for white. I find that whole f4 system.
I played the 4 pawns attack for years as white, and I stopped because of the bishop g4 lines because it was so boring after that. And I quite like. I played this against Ray Starkey in a county match. He plays c5. I'd never seen it before.
Oh yeah, he's quite a good player.
But he was. He died recently, unfortunately.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I saw him beat Colin Purdon in one county game.
Sorry?
I saw him beat Colin Purdon in one county game.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, but he was. Yeah, he died fairly recently.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Good bloke.
One way you can stop all this is if you play 1e4. You play this, Martin, don't you? Is Martin still here? Martin.
Yeah, I do play it, Colin. Yeah, regularly.
So what would you play in this position? Would you play knight c6 or?
Yeah, either knight c6 or sometimes I play a very cautious a6.
Well, a6 is what Kasparov played.
Yeah, it's quite.
Instead of the usual move at that time, knight c6, was played in game 51. I don't know if you've seen these books, but these books are fantastic. My great predecessors. And this one is actually Gary Kasparov on Gary Kasparov. He had a whole book on Fischer. He had a book on Karpov and Korchnoi. The books are really very high quality. And his analysis in games is just absolutely fantastic. And he also tells you quite a lot of stories about the run-up to games and everything. So it's very high quality books. They're quite expensive. They'll probably cost you about 25 quid, but they are interesting.
Perhaps we need a Camberley Chess Club library after we come out of COVID that we contribute to and lend out at a price that goes into the club funds.
Yeah, we could do that.
Isn't it in Colin's flat though? I'm looking at the shelves. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're not all chess books, but I've got at least 250 chess books. I might have more. I've given away quite a few over the years.
Yeah.
Apparently, Queen d2 is the most normal move here. But he says then he would have replied either knight c6 or c6. And if he goes castles queenside after c6, you play b5. In this played. Anyway, he decided to go bishop d3. Apparently, I think he was 5-3 down in the match at this stage. Or this game made it 5-3, I think. Okay, he gives his next move an exclamation mark. See if you can guess his next move.
C5.
B5.
C5.
C5. Exclamation mark. A comparatively rare variation with a pawn sacrifice developed by Timon. This move, which had not previously occurred in my games, caught Believsky unawares. Again, as in the second game, he felt that he was being led. And when you are playing for a win, this is a very unpleasant condition. Black gives up a pawn in order to weaken and undermine the enemy's centre. And this must be done precisely now with the bishop on d3. If it had been done before the bishop was on d3, he would have taken. If he takes back, he would have exchanged queens. So he takes back, and now he takes again. But Kasparov was actually quite critical of that. He said he should have played e5 followed by f4. He said he should have gone here and played this, and he would have been quite all right. And instead, he decided to be greedy and take this pawn. But he gives that a question mark, Kasparov does. Continues to develop his pieces. Of course, Kasparov has such fantastic attacking abilities that he doesn't worry much about giving up pawns. And now he made another inaccuracy. He said that he should have gone back to e3 with his bishop, but instead he played this move. I wouldn't think a move like that would be...
No, it looks very natural.
You'd think that was a normal move. Okay, what do you think black would play here?
Queen a5.
Queen a5. No. Probably just go bishop e3 if he did go queen a5, actually. Quite a surprising move, really.
Not knight e4. That can't work.
No, knight e4 doesn't work. He went here.
Wow.
Actually, this sort I've seen this sort of maneuver before. In these sort of positions. Now knight on d to e5. Well, he is attacking bishop twice.
Nasty.
And if he moves it, he can take this, can't he?
Yep.
So he doesn't move it, he plays here. So how does Kasparov increase the pressure now?
Knight b4.
Knight b4.
Bishop e6.
Knight b4 is an interesting move. Though he may go, I guess knight b4, maybe he would go bishop e2.
Queen takes queen.
Maybe then you'd have to take with the king, maybe.
Yeah, that can't be good for white.
Well, let's have a look at what the computer gives. Knight b4. Knight d5.
Oh, yeah.
No, still better for black. Well, slightly better for black. Not a lot better. So knight b4 wouldn't have been a bad move.
How about queen a5?
Yeah, queen a5. Yeah.
Queen a5, no.
Bishop h6.
Bishop a6. Apparently bishop e6 is also quite good.
Yeah, I was looking at bishop e6.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did go here though.
Wow.
Where he decided to play. Bishop a6. I very much like making such non-routine and therefore unexpected moves. Worthy alternatives were provided by the typical bishop e6. He said this came as an unpleasant psychological blow to his opponent. And he now should have played bishop e2, but he played knight d5.
What?
So he's played this move against it.
I see. He's going to e3. I see.
Well, he played this now.
All right.
Wow.
Well, I know about this sort of stuff from the Sicilian Nardov, because in the Sicilian Nardov, I've often played this against people, and they're shocked when you play this.
What?
Yeah, knight f6 threat.
Well, Kasparov has seen this, and Kasparov went, been here. It really happens that the surprise factor works so effectively. By the 15th move, Believsky had already used 1 hour and 45 minutes. So in the days when they had 2.5 hours. However, as often happens, lengthy reflection did not improve the quality of moves made. And the result is that the loss of material for white is already inevitable.
Why can't he just play bishop e3 here, white?
They just
Bishop
take
what?
I mean, he dropped the G pawn. No, you don't. No, you don't. Hang on. Yeah, G pawn. Yeah.
Bishop e3 just drops the G pawn. That's right.
Well, then he play rook at g1, and then the bishop on h6 is hanging.
No, because you got knight takes f3 check.
Oh yeah, you have. That's right.
Winning the rook or winning the
Yes.
queen, whichever one you want to win.
That's true. So he has to play knight e3 then.
Well, actually, he does mention this, but he says after knight e3, he would just go there. I suppose you can't play there because of the knight. Where is this bishop going in? Here.
C7. You've got to go to C7.
Would you like another game?
Yeah.
Apparently, well, he went here. Kasparov says this is the only move to provide any chances whatsoever. But now he just takes the knight.
Yep.
No, Kasparov said he thought he should have just played c takes d4. And he reckons it's not totally all over. If he can get these pawns rolling in f4 as well. He played f4 immediately. Well, you can understand why he did that, can't you?
Yeah.
No.
Well, he played this move. So it's pretty complicated.
Pawn takes knight.
Yeah, he did play that.
Knight E5. Pawn C4.
No, he
Pawn
said he
E4. Pawn E4.
played this move.
Wow.
Played that. Oh.
Cutting off the bishop from the defense.
Idea of bringing the bishop in here, maybe.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Bishop is likely to become very strong now. I say, makes you wonder, he probably saw quite a bit of this well in advance. So he went knight e2.
Yep.
He has cut the bishop out the game a bit, hasn't he?
He's still got bishop E3 check.
That's what he played. King h1.
Now you've got knight E5.
Knight e5. Well, Julian, you're playing like Kasparov.
Oh, that stops the mate in H2. Boom, boom. We'll play knight G4 anyway.
Knight g4 anyway.
Yeah.
Depends F2, doesn't it?
Let's see what would happen. Bishop to
G3.
g3. Beating off the attack.
Ah,
Well, he actually went queen e7.
Backward queen move.
Bishop takes knight.
Equalising.
Yeah. I
One,
can
2, 3, 4.
very much like black's position.
Yeah. That bishop's tremendous, isn't it?
and that D3 bishop's useless.
Queen e1. Now he just played a nice simple move. Bishop d7. Black completes his development and begins preparing a siege on the central e4 pawn. Although this involves the exchange of queens, Black's strong passed d pawn and powerful bishop on e3 guarantee him an excellent endgame. This is one of the hardest parts of chess, I think, is when to know where to switch your advantages. Let me say, it was great when I played Camberley that I was able to just go into an ending where I was 3 pawns up. Well, I don't mind playing endings, I'm going to go 3 pawns up. Queen e3. Look on A to e8.
Just in time.
Sure. Well, maybe he's thinking at some stage of playing this move.
No, he's just going to pile up on the e-pawn, like he said.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, where we got to? Bishop to
Queen
D7.
G3.
Queen to G3.
Rook E8.
Rook E8. And now he played knight F4. And maybe he doesn't want the ending. Now he's played the wrong move here, but what do you think the right move is?
White move for black.
Yeah.
Bishop C6.
That's the move he played. But he question marks it. He said it's not the right move.
What, take the knight is the right move?
Yeah.
No. That's not the right move either. I remember what I said just now.
B5.
No, not B5, F5.
That's quite good though.
F5 is what he should play. Because
Really?
he actually wants to get rid of this bishop. Takes, bishop takes.
Oh, right.
And then this pawn might start to run. He knows to get rid of the knight as well if he wants.
Yeah, but he's exposing his king as well. I mean, it's a sharp move, isn't it? It's probably good, but I mean, it's.
Yeah, he gave that an exclamation mark. He said bishop C6. You can see why he played bishop C6.
Yeah, but knight D5 is coming.
Knight D5 did indeed come. Now he's changed off queens, giving it pawns. He said that he should have played knight F6 first before taking back, but he didn't. Anyway, he now played rook here. Spot the frat.
Mm.
Oh, you're right.
Nice frat.
That's a big threat.
Well, it is. Can he go? Well, if he goes knight F4, he can take the e pawn.
No, he has to play G4.
No, you can.
Yeah. You can try bishop E2, but then the E4 pawn folds.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a very good idea. He probably does have to go G4. But then maybe he'll just play his bishop back to D7. No, he can't play bishop D7 immediately because of the knight fork. So he'll have to play maybe king G7.
Yeah.
And then play the bishop there if he can. Yeah.
So what did he play?
Knight takes bishop.
He did play G4.
G4.
King G7.
No.
H5.
H5. Well done, Julian. Julian's finding all Kasparov's moves. Why do we need Kasparov when we've got Julian? Knight F6. Knight F6. King here. And now he takes this pawn.
Rook H8.
Yeah, I think so. Rook H8, the last turning point. G3.
Right.
And escape
Yeah.
squirt.
Hmm.
Well, it avoids mate. It was a good thing.
Well, he says that he didn't play the best move now.
Why didn't he play G4?
Sorry?
Why didn't he play G4 instead of G3?
I don't know. Probably just would have taken with the pawn on
Yeah.
that square. Right, what do you think his best move is now? He didn't play the best move. So here's the time to try to play better than Kasparov.
I was thinking rook E6.
Rook E6. You got the right idea to attack the
Rook
knight.
G5. Rook G5.
Well, he actually took
Oh, Rook F5.
Oh yes, that's right.
Rook F5.
Nice.
Rook F5 is an interesting move. Let's see what the computer thinks.
Rook takes rook.
Rook takes rook. Black's a little bit better, but not a lot better.
But it's a better move than Rook F5.
Yeah. You got the right idea, though, to attack the knight.
Bishop G5 is the only move that's left.
Yeah, bishop G5.
Okay.
Then knight here. And then F5, apparently. What Kasparov does.
This is what he should have played.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just play rook takes H5 check?
Well, that's what he did play. He played rook on E to H5.
No, the bishop's got to come back to G5 first.
But he said that's not the best. He should have played bishop G5, knight D5.
Oh, I see. All right.
That's what he thought he should have played. Knight takes here. Rook takes here. He's still winning, though. King here. I bet he plays F5 now. Let's have a look. Yeah.
It's the only move he's got left.
Yeah. Well, no doubt he would have seen that.
Pretty good, though, isn't it?
But look at this. 2 passed pawns you're going to get here, aren't you?
Yeah, they're huge.
Obviously, got a bishop.
Very strong. Bishop's very strong, isn't it?
I see. You can't play King F3 because swap off and Rook F5. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was
plays
just.
Rook F5, isn't he? Takes and then plays Rook F5.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And he can't stay on the bishop, can he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Alas, the appearance of a pair of connected passed pawns cannot be avoided. He actually gives the line King F3 and what would happen. Here, White had just 1 minute left and the spectators were interested in only one thing. Would Believsky manage to make 7 moves before his flag fell? Kasparov's games are nearly always interesting, though.
Yeah.
Well, he played an interesting move now.
Wow.
Don't understand that. So he just plays B3, yeah.
Then
B5. Rook E3. In desperate time trouble. People tend to do crazy things. They've got to play some move.
What was the threat? Why can't he just play pawn to?
Well, the threat is to win a pawn.
Why can't he just play a C takes B? That's it. Yeah. Well, now what?
I just takes back with this.
Yeah. So what?
He's put the cramp on his queenside pawn, I suppose. I don't know.
Computer still likes black. Apparently, he's going to play B4 next.
Yeah.
They're also suggesting he should bring his rook back to E5. And he can move his bishop away and start to push his pawn through. Anyway, so B3, B5 happened. And now he decided to take this. This is panic mode. I'll swing my 2 back, yeah. Rook E1. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Rook C4, Rook E3. Rook B4. Rook B3.
What if he played this?
E3. King here.
Bishop B5.
Bishop B5 check. King to E1. Well, he actually played the move A5 here. Seems like he's teasing him. E4. Rook takes rook. Pawn takes rook. King F6. King D1. G5. King C2.
He's just making the time control, is he? Because this is resignable, isn't it?
King to E5. Stacey resigned. So what happens after
E2.
this move? E2.
E2. Huh?
Yeah, E2.
Wins a piece.
Yeah, it does.
He doesn't have to play that. He can play bishop.
No, E2's the best move. Oh, bishop E2.
Yeah, what happens if he plays that?
King E4.
King D4, yeah.
King D4, I think. King D4 does indeed happen. He's got to watch out because he's also threatened to win this one if the king moves away. So nice game, really. I think Kasparov is also quite a strong endgame player as well as being very strong in the opening and middle game. And he knew when to switch to endgames. Yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting game. I don't think I've ever yet seen Kasparov involved in a game that wasn't quite interesting. Yeah.
What was weird about that is it looked like when he had the bishop on E3 and that, it looked like he had a really big position, but to actually win it, it's a lot more difficult than it looked.
Yeah, that's right.
Really good moves, yeah.
Got to calculate a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I like his move Queen G5 because a lot of people would be rather shocked when they see the move Bishop B6. But he, you know, when he played this Bishop H6 move, he'd probably seen Queen G5 at that stage. I don't think he would have played Bishop H6 otherwise. So it showed that he was looking quite a way in advance, and he saw all the complications. It's a bit like Tao, really. He can nearly always out-calculate his opponents. Yeah. Well, that's it for tonight.
Well done, thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks a lot.
Colin, thank you very much.
Very interesting.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks very much, Colin.
Yes, thank you, Colin.
My pleasure.